So this is Milo's go home video. Milo has been with us for 3.5 weeks. He was super nervous, super shut down when he came. Definitely is still a little bit nervous, but has made leaps and bounds from where he was. Just with structure and getting Milo out to new places and seeing different things and just kind of realizing that the world is okay and that nothing's out to get him has really helped Milo come along. It is a little bit uncommon for us to have to keep dogs longer than 3 weeks. We're happy to put in the extra work if we have to. So certain dogs just take a little bit longer to learn, and they're not quite where we want them at the 3-week mark. So when that happens, we're happy to keep them as long as it takes to kind of, deliver the product that we promised. So it's not a super common thing. Generally, we see it with really anxious, nervous dogs. We see it sometimes with aggressive dogs as well, where it takes a little bit longer than the 3 weeks. But we feel like we feel like it's really important for us to put in the extra work, put in the extra time for dogs that need it, and we're happy to do it. We like to see the progress that they make, and generally it's usually a week or a half a week. It's a pretty uncommon case that we have to keep them any longer than that. But when we do, and we're happy to do it, and we really see that the dogs come out the other side a lot better because of that. So we're out here at the park today, and
okay, Milo, come.
we're gonna show off Milo's go home video, and we're gonna show off Milo's progress. You see there that Milo wanted to actually come to me instead.
Yep.
I happen to be every dog's favorite. It's just kind of the way the world is these days. Gina seems to not think so, but she's lying, so it's fine. But so Gina did the right thing by just reminding Milo, hey, nope, you're coming to me. So she called him. He started coming. He turned a little bit towards me. Gina said, nope, come on, and then turned towards her. So it's actually really nice that we kind of get to see that in this video, because in a lot of houses that have, a husband and wife, or, partners, or, 2 people that handle the dog, or multiple people that handle the dog, it's important that the dog listens to the person that's talking to them. So if I would have stayed in my squat position that I was in and started petting Milo, I would have been rewarding him for being disobedient. So it's important that that's something that we keep in mind. If Gina calls Milo and he comes to me, that's not correct. So I'm not gonna praise him, I'm gonna ignore him. Gina's gonna call him again, get him to come to her, and then the reward will come from her. And the reason we like that is so that the dog listens to the person that's talking to them, so they have to pay attention to kind of what's going on. So those sits are automatic sits. When we stop walking and healing, the dog should sit on their own. There's no commands, there's nothing like that. We've just taught that through repetition. That is a way that we can help dogs when they get distracted or we think they're zoning in on something that's not us. We can stop, and they should sit. And if they don't sit, we can communicate with them. No, hey, you're not doing the right thing. So we'll communicate with them via the leash or the e-collar and verbal, and let them know, hey, this is what you're actually supposed to be doing. And so we can help dogs that zone in on something break that focus on whatever they're paying attention to by doing a quick stop. It's also just something that we do really often to keep the dog engaged with us. It's something that we do really often to make the walk more challenging. We don't want to just heel in a straight line forever and not ask for anything else. That gets really boring for dogs. There's no challenge. They don't have to use their brain nearly as much. So another thing we'll do a lot is that turn that Gina just did right there. So a pack of chitlins are walking by. No, you guys are fine, we love it. And so Gina does a quick turn so that Milo doesn't just kind of focus in on the kids. And so if you allow a dog to focus in on something, they have the potential to react. And so we can avoid a lot of that by not allowing the dog to even get to that state of mind by doing a quick turn with obedience. By doing a quick turn and making sure they're paying attention to their obedience, So a lot of a lot of obedience is management. A lot of obedience is paying attention to our surroundings so that we can always help the dog be successful. We expect dogs to make mistakes at new places. We expect dogs to make mistakes with a ton of distractions around. That's not surprising. It's how we handle them and how we work through them that makes their obedience really good or really bad. So if we just let Milo hit the end of the leash and sit there and stare towards whatever his distraction is, that reaction is going to build and build and build. But if we do a quick turn, make sure Milo's paying attention to obedience, make sure he's paying attention to Gina in this case, then over time they'll completely start to ignore all the other things going on because they're so used to having to pay attention to whoever's handling them. So it also is one of the things that makes walks challenging, is doing those turns. And again, that challenge in a walk like this is super important. So we tell people, yeah, we want you to walk your dog, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, kind of depending on the dog, a day, or every other day, or whatever it might be. And this is the type of walk we want. We don't want just a standard walk, straight line walk. We actually want walks with a lot of obedience, with a lot of stops, with a lot of turns, downs, stays, recalls. We want to work with the dogs throughout the entire walk so that they don't get bored, so that they're paying attention, so that they have to use their brain. And that when they get home, after they've had to use their brain a bunch, and when they get home, you'll find a dog that's a lot more relaxed, a lot more tired, a lot more fulfilled. You'll find that your dog is a lot less destructive because of that. They're much more liable to take a nap than they are to go chew on something. So a lot of the common problems that people don't like in dogs are actually really start to go away when you start asking for obedience and making their walks fulfilling and making them use their brain and get them mentally stimulated. So right there, he wants to check out. Gina says, nope, come on, pay attention to me, catch up. She does a quick turn. Milo wants to check out these ducks, which is a really hard distraction. So we don't just leave the ducks. That wasn't the type of reaction that tells us we're too close to our distraction. That just tells us this is like a good distance to work through a distraction. If Milo would have really lunged and started barking and doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and his obedience completely went out the window, then we know we were too close to the distraction. So, and Gina's walking a little bit farther away because of the kid right here. We just generally like to put space in between kids and dogs, regardless of what dog it is or anything like that. We just generally like to avoid it if we can. So Milo's really focusing in on those ducks. This is a reaction that we have, but we don't want to just leave it. So we actually will work through it until Milo does a good job. So we'll keep this distance probably pretty similar, just because he's not doing so bad that he's pulling on the leash or anything like that. He's just, leaving our heel position by a foot or two. And so when Milo does good, Gina gives him a piece of food, lets him know he's doing good, and also lets him know when he's not doing well. So generally, after about 2 or 3 of these, the dog starts to do a lot better. As you can see, this pass through, Milo did much better, which means that we learned something. If you're too close to the distraction and the dog's not able to think, you're not really going to help them learn much through that. If you're too far away and the dog doesn't notice the distraction at all, you aren't really going to learn much from that either. So it's a fine balance of finding the right distance from certain distractions that help our dogs learn. It's a fine balance of doing this, being this close to distractions on every single walk. I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing it on every single walk, but you do want to, make walks always make walks challenging, but they don't always need to be super challenging. So some walks will be a little bit more challenging than others. Some will be fairly easy with just some turns and not a lot of distractions. Some walks will go out purposefully to really distracting places like this park, and there'll be a little bit shorter walks where they have to think a lot harder, And then other walks where there's not a lot of distractions, we'll do, you know, just a bunch of turning and sits and stuff like that, but it might be a half an hour walk instead of a 10 or 15-minute walk. It's always a balance with dog training. Everything that you do, you can go too far one way or too far the other. So always finding that right balance is kind of what we're after, and is what makes dog training so much fun. And we like to instill that in the owners of dogs as well. I think that it makes their relationship with their dogs a lot better. It makes dog training for them a lot more fun, because you get to kind of look at it from a challenging standpoint, where we're always trying to get better, we're always trying to grow. And one day, almost every dog can have perfect obedience. Generally, they leave here with a really solid foundation. So helping the owners learn how to maintain and grow that foundation is, you know, one of the more satisfying parts of this job. So at the end of a walk like this, that was, you know, really hard, tons of distractions, ducks, people, kids, riding bikes, everything like that. We want to let the dogs blow off a little bit of steam. So we'll come up, we'll find a space that's kind of away from people. We'll do just a little bit of food work if the dog likes food. If they don't, then we'll just do some basic obedience for some pets and pats, and we just kind of want it to be a little bit more fun.
Okay, Milo, come. Yeah,
we ask them to use their brain a lot, so it's only fair to let them blow off just a little bit of steam at the end as well. So after a walk like this, when you get home, it's a really good chance your dog wants to just go lay down, take a 2-hour nap,
yes.
because it's definitely a lot of work.